Okay. Greg, thank you for taking the time out to talk to us. I really appreciate it.
Sure thing, John.
The first question I want to get into, and then we'll get into some of the back stuff, is have you heard what Reggie had stated about a week ago where he had heard rumblings that Vegas PD was possibly making some headway as far as moving in on Keefe D due to the interviews and the stuff that he's been doing recently?
I've been hearing rumors about all this. I've gotten some text messages, and some people have forwarded me some of the YouTube clips. So yeah, I'm aware of it.
Okay. Have you heard anything outside of just the rumors, or just you've heard just the rumors pretty much?
Just the rumors, pretty much. I believe they're valid. I believe that Vegas is actually, out there trying to kick stones. But we'll see what we'll see what the end result is.
Can you tell me the differences in a proffer agreement, immunity, and queen for a day?
Sure. Well, queen for a day and a proffer are essentially the same thing. Queen for a day is just kind of like off the cuff slang for a proffer agreement. A proffer agreement is not immunity. People get this confused. There's no immunity in a proffer agreement. All a proffer agreement is that information that you provide that is self-incriminating cannot be used against you. It's like, it's a constitutional right against self-incrimination. So we offer this certain times, during law enforcement investigations. We'll say, listen, if you'll sit down and answer our questions and be honest about responding to our questions, we won't use your information against you. We'll use your information to prosecute other people. And if other people provide information that we can use against you, we most certainly will. We just won't use your own self-incriminating statements against you. That's a proffer agreement. And that gives people the liberty to go and talk about their criminal behavior without the fear of turning around and having that used against them, because then they wouldn't cooperate with law enforcement under most circumstances. What do they have to gain? Well, in Keefe D's situation, he had a lot to gain because he was looking at trying to mitigate these drug charges that we'd built against him. So him and his attorney and the U.S. attorney all agreed to do this proffer agreement. And immunity is completely different. Immunity is where you cannot prosecute somebody. You've given somebody an agreement and you can't prosecute them regardless of what evidence you build against them. Immunity is different. Immunity means you can't prosecute them. A proffer session means we can't use your statements, but we can still prosecute you if we get other information that is of such quality that we can, file charges. Make sense? One's still prosecutable, one's not.
Gotcha. Okay, so if there's somebody like in Keefe D's position, um, if he has any of these agreements, is there any time that he can talk about the stuff that he discussed with you guys without getting in trouble?
No, when he goes outside of that agreement, that information is all there to be used, should a prosecutor choose to do so. So when he's gone outside of this law enforcement environment where he has been given this agreement, everything else is up for grabs. So everything that he's said in books or on YouTube channels or, on, multiple interviews, that's all information that can absolutely be used against him and should. They just can't use our original investigation where we sat down and recorded his conversation. We can't use that. Except if there's something discovered in that turns out to be untrue, then that information that he provided us can be used against him and to do what they call, not character, the legal term escapes me right now, to impeach him. That's the word. And so if it's discovered that he lied to us, that means he violated the agreement. If he violated the agreement, then the agreement's off the table and everything he told us can now be used. Make sense? It's a breach of contract, essentially.
Okay. So, with him doing these books and these interviews and YouTube and all this stuff, if there were a witness that came forward and said, "Hey, I saw him in the white Cadillac in the parking lot," or, "I saw him driving down the street in a white Cadillac," would that be enough to bring him to a grand jury, or what do you think it would take?
His own statements are enough to indict him. It doesn't take a lot of evidence to get a grand jury to, issue an indictment. It doesn't take very much at all. And but when you take what he has to say and then you can shore that up or reinforce that with other testimonial or circumstantial evidence, then it starts to validate his own confession. And that's just building the strength of the case against him.
Yeah, like outside the club 662, if, James had saw Keefe D in the white Cadillac.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. If James saw Keefe D in the Cadillac, then it's very valuable information because it puts Keefe D in the vehicle that was described as the assailant vehicle. It puts Keefe D in immediate proximity to the shooter, his nephew. It corroborates Keefe D's own statements about going to Club 662 and then leaving and then shooting Tupac shortly thereafter. So if you have an eyewitness that is corroborating the confession, that just further, corroborates the confession. So yeah, that's very damning evidence if that's what Mob James is claiming, or at least if that's what he's telling Las Vegas PD.
Okay. Can you explain the incident that happened between Keefe D and Von Zip at a club in New York?
Are you talking about when we took Keefe D out to New York in order to further our investigation?
Correct.
Took him to yeah. So Von Zip had a club out there called the Zip Code in Harlem. And we wanted to reunite Keefe D and Zip with the hopes of Keefe D being able to elicit self-incriminating statements from Zip. So we took him out there, tried to get them to reunite, hoping that Zip and Keefe D will sit down and have a conversation. Of course, Keefe D would have been wearing a body recorder, and we would have, had him discuss the gun that Zip gave him in Las Vegas that was used to kill Tupac. We would have had them discuss the relationship with Puffy. We would have had them discuss any transactions of funds that were used as a result of the solicitation for Tupac's murder. So those were the things that we were hoping to accomplish by utilizing Keefe D as an informant. So that was the strategy, but it didn't come to fruition. Zip had cancer, and I think he smelled a rat. I think he probably understood, what's this guy showing up out of nowhere? Why does he want to talk about this old situation? So I think, Zip was from the streets, and he'd probably been around enough informants in his life to give him a little bit of consternation about, sitting down and having a heart-to-heart with Keefe D.
Gotcha. Okay. So did Keefe D actually try to go to the club and talk to Von Zip? And if he did, was he already kind of wired for sound at that point?
So during the initial meeting, we just wanted them to see each other, greet each other, and then, make it look as organic and natural as possible. We couldn't have Keefe D just showing up and going, "Hey dude, got a few minutes? I want to talk about Tupac's murder," right? We had to do it in a very natural way. So we initially just said, "Hey, just go in there. Hopefully, hopefully he's there. And you can just say you're in town, you'd like to get together, just checking in. Maybe even offer to say, I've still got my drug trafficking situation back in LA. If you need anything, we can resurrect our drug relationship." So that was the approach, the idea behind it all. So when we initially sent him, we didn't want him to have a wire because we didn't know what that environment might be. If they are suspect of him or, concerned, you never know if they're going to start patting him down, something like that, and then the jig would be up. So we just said we'd build this slowly, initially just go meet with him, and then see if you can establish an ongoing relationship with him, and then we'll start slowly building it from there. But he ran into Zip. Obviously, Zip showed up at the club. Him and Keefe said, "What's up? What's up?" And then he told Keefe D, like, "Yeah, I'm kind of out of the business right now. I'm struggling with cancer, but my nephew, you can hook up with my nephew, and you guys can set some stuff up between you." So we got kind of deflected there, and we had to try to figure out how to overcome that.